Hi everyone, it's Rabbi Kliel, and as I've done in the past few weeks, I wanted to offer Dvar Torah. And I really hope you are all holding up nicely and able to find opportunities to be together and connect with one another. Before I offer my words of Torah, I want to share a brief story about an encounter I had this last Sunday night with my 6-year-old daughter Anaya. And I believe that this experience with my youngest child is very telling. It seems to capture some of what we are going through at this time of social and physical distancing during this global pandemic. Anaya and I were alone in the kitchen. She was busy drawing and I was cleaning up. And as I was cleaning, I was listening to the CBC radio and assumed that Anaya was not really paying attention. She was caught up in her own world of creativity. At a certain point during the program, I heard the person being interviewed say something along the lines of people 65 and above are more susceptible to contracting the COVID-19 virus, and illness and death are, of course, a concern to all of us. I paused, looked over at my child, who seemed to be in her own isolated reality. And then as I turned back to the kitchen sink, truly out of nowhere, Anaya blurted out, "Oh no, Abba, that's not good. I don't want anything to happen to people I love, like Saba, Savta, her grandparents, and person X, somebody she has come to really adore from Eitz Chaim, somebody up until recently she was able to see on a weekly basis on Shabbat morning." And then she said something very profound. "I don't want anyone to die." Without going into all of the details of the conversation I had with Anaya, suffice it to say that we talked openly about people becoming ill, and that despite our wishes for it not to happen, people do die. Sometimes people we really love leave us well before we are ready to bid them farewell. Death, as you can imagine, for me as a rabbi, is not foreign. But for some reason, more than most, this last week has been permeated with the theme and occurrence of death. First, I had this encounter with Anaya. Then on Monday, I officiated at the funeral of a wonderful person who passed away at 104 years young. That was followed by a commemoration on Monday evening for Yom HaShoah v'Hagvura, the day where we commemorate those who perished in the Shoah. And on Tuesday, as the day of memory continued for those murdered by the Nazis, I learned of the passing of Rabbi Peretz Weitzman, himself a survivor of the Shoah, and of course someone who served the Jewish community of Winnipeg for 50 years. Coincidentally, on Thursday evening, when I have the good fortune of teaching the Introduction to Judaism class, the subject the other night happened to be death and mourning rituals. Death is something we cannot avoid. And here I paraphrase from a verse in the book of Ecclesiastes that suggests that there is tremendous wisdom to be acquired from confronting death. So now to our Torah reading. This week we read a double parsha, Parshiot Tazria Mitzorah. And there are a variety of different issues that come up. Of course, these parshiot are well known for the procedures for identifying and responding to those infected with Sa'arat, a skin disease which is often translated as leprosy. In Parshat Mitzorah, God describes the purification ritual for people and homes afflicted with skin disease. The Parsha deals specifically with quarantine and physical distancing during a disease, and then elaborates on the rituals involved in coming back to the community after 14 days have passed. Somehow, more than the other Torah readings we've read recently, this Parsha feels very relevant to what it is we are all going through. Rabbi Lauren Eichler-Birken writes about the laws and rituals found in this Parsha. She says, these laws are part of a broader symbolic system, which highlights the power of confronting mortality and the subsequent need to ritualize the reaffirmation of life. Many scholars concur that life-death symbolism is the underlying principle behind the biblical purity system. According to this theory, one becomes impure upon contact with death or with the loss of potential life. The biblical purity system proclaims that our confrontations with the temporal nature of life leave a deep spiritual imprint, from conception to birth to illness to death. At every stage in life, we acknowledge and ritualize our encounters with death, and then we embrace and immerse in life anew. As we go through this pandemic, for many, death feels closer than it has been felt in the past. Here in Manitoba, we're very fortunate that few people have died as a result of the COVID-19 virus. But regardless, death is abounding. It is everywhere, especially if we pay close attention to the news. It's constantly being discussed. And likely there's so much anxiety that rises up for each one of us about our own life, the life of our older family members and friends. There's nothing pleasant about this situation we find ourselves in. But insofar as there are lessons to be learned from this current situation, I think one critical lesson is that this is the time for us to talk about death. I think we need to encourage one another, each other, to openly talk about death and the wishes of our loved ones as they ponder their own end of life situation and matters. Doing so serves as a way to honor life and our loved ones. What a blessing this could be to have the conversations now in a space where we are calm, contemplative, and really open to hearing what the other has to say about how they want to leave this world. And as relates to the verse from the book of Ecclesiastes that I paraphrased earlier, I understand this, that when we talk about death, we talk about life. We talk about ultimately what truly matters to us as individuals. Of course, I want you to know that Cantor Tracy and I are here to have those conversations with you. And please know that you can be in touch with us at any time. For now, let me wish you all a Shabbat Shalom, and I'll add a Chodesh Tov. This is a new month, and I wish you just so much happiness, sweetness. Please take care of yourselves and stay well. Shabbat Shalom.